Welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm, having a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business. I'm Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center. Having worked with many accounting professionals for more than 20 years, I'm excited to share insights and thoughts, things that you can be doing individually to implement in your business to ensure that you're offering quality accounting, bookkeeping, and tax services. This podcast is dedicated to helping accounting professionals confidently and competently offer quality accounting services to get paid what they're worth. So I encourage you to listen to our other episodes and, more importantly, subscribe to this podcast to get the most out of what you can be doing to increase your reputation in your market and, in fact, become the premier accounting firm in your area. Today, I'm excited to have Mike Michalowicz with us. He happens to be an author, father, and phenomenal husband, and I'm looking forward to this conversation, having known Mike for a number of years, simply because I know that we're going to have an exciting discussion relative to your business and helping you actually focus on what you can be doing to work on your own company. So with no further ado, let me go ahead and welcome Mike to the show. Mike, welcome.
Roger, it's a joy to be here. Typically we're on my deck, drinking a libation of some sort, having these conversations. So it's kind of cool to do it over the wire with you this time.
Well, let me just say that in my own mind, I'm going to imagine that. I'm up on the top deck looking out over your backyard, and it is beautiful.
Over the woods, yeah.
Whether or not that tent is there in the way, I don't know. But in my mind, I'm going to remove the tent, and I'm going to say that I'm just looking out over that nice, beautiful backyard. But yes, we have had some great conversations, and you've been very kind of welcoming me to your home. So thanks for joining me here online.
Thank you for having me.
So here's what I wanted to do. I don't know if many people are aware of this, but you've written a number of books, and I've intentionally wanted to kind of break down what I've kind of read and witnessed myself with regards to the books. And then we're going to break into some personal questions. So the way I've kind of organized my thoughts is going all the way back years and years ago, back pre-2008 to the toilet paper entrepreneur. And you wrote something about it a number of years ago that I think is very apropos to kind of introduce this particular book. You said, the day before I launched my first business, I was excited beyond belief. Then I launched my company and the excitement faded fast. My excitement became anxiety and fear as I did anything and everything I could to get my business off the ground. This was a sad reality for most business owners, but it doesn't have to be. I can relate to that, and I know a lot of other people can. You go with a great deal of enthusiasm because you're starting your business. You feel you have something to offer the business community, the individuals, and all of a sudden you're just overwhelmed. Tell me about what led to actually even writing the book. Where did that anxiety, that frustration, that weight come from?
Isn't there that saying, like, man creates plans as God laughs, something to that effect? That's what I think happens for many of us. That leading up to the start of the business, for me, was this ideation, the creation of thoughts and what could be and the potential. And the thing is, because there's no execution, I don't need to execute. I'm just thinking about it. Of course, all of my visions, my fantasies about the business come true in my mind.
Yeah.
And then the cold reality hits the next day, is when you got to actually have people separate money from their wallet and give it to you for this vision you had. And so for me, the up to the moment before I started that business, I had that first business I did was in computer systems. Up to the second before I opened the doors, I'm like, this is going to be amazing. I remember saying to my wife, something to the effect of, I'm going to put you in diamonds in the next 3-4 weeks. Like, that was, we're in this real crappy apartment. We had a son very early on. So the three of us are, living off of ramen's noodles at this point. And then I had this idea of starting a business. And I really did think that it was not out of the realm of reason to be in a mansion within, a year of that day. And of course that didn't happen. And in hindsight, it's almost comical thinking that way. But I also tell you that false pretext of that false hope we have is necessary, because if we really understood the reality and the brutality of the early stages of entrepreneurship, I think many of us would never do it.
Well, it's intimidating. It's scary. Well, let me back up, actually. I think in our minds, it makes sense. In our minds, we're very clear. Everything is flowing together. It's seamless. And then you go to implement, it takes longer. People that you're working with don't understand, catch the full vision. They don't see their place. And more importantly, the customer, they don't see what it is we're offering to the point that they're willing to part with their money to pay for it as readily as we might have thought.
Yeah, we have to be very persuasive, but the irony is we have to be very persuasive with ourselves. Like we got to convince ourselves before we can convince clients. So the first sale is, I would argue, the most difficult. So, you open that business. I opened my business the next morning. I got to make that first sale. And I was so timid and afraid, I didn't believe it. And that timidity does not translate into an effective sales
Mm-hmm.
process. So, of course, I struggled, which further validates that I should be timid. And it starts a downward spiral very quickly. We need to have confidence in ourselves that we can sell into someone. And I'll tell you a little hack I found for many businesses, either when starting a brand new business or experimenting with a new offering. Just minutes before we spoke today, Roger, I was meeting with a company here in our same building that's pretty established, but they're looking at doing a new offering. And we both agreed that the best way to get a new offering out there is to do it for free, the first one. So many businesses, we buy the logo, we get the website, all that stuff. We still can't get a client. I'll tell you what I found to be a more effective way. Don't spend that money on the website. Don't get the logo. Save that money to cover you while you render free service to the first client.
Mm-hmm.
Because every client's going to ask, tell me about one of your other clients. No one wants to be the patient for the heart surgeon that's never done heart surgery before. So no one wants to be your first client. So engage in that first client, even if it's just offering the service for free, is a great way to build a marketing presence at low cost. That is something I learned. And with my first company, I didn't do the first one for free, but I extremely discounted what I did. And it worked ultimately. I'll tell you one other little tip here is if you do the first client for free or extremely discounted, before you sign off on the agreement, put a request upon them. There needs to be a fair exchange. And if it isn't money, ask them, would they be willing to be a referral
Mm-hmm.
source for you, but an integral referral source that when you refer clients to them, they share their factual experience with them. But they also agree to pick up the phone when you make the referral, that they will be a referral source for you. And that's worked out very well for me when I do implement those strategies.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've done is we've actually put as part of the agreement that they'll issue a review. They'll give a testimonial of sorts regarding the experience and the process. And so, if nothing else, I'm coming out of it with something that I can use in the marketing to then leverage that experience. So I agree with that. And being the oldest son of a family of 6, I can definitely say that there's something to be said for being the guinea pig.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly my mother taking me to the doctors on a few occasions because I got sick. She didn't know what it was and took me. The doctor obviously answered it to her satisfaction. And then when the next kid got it, it was like, oh, no, you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And bother to take her to the hospital or the doctor. You're going to be fine. You're going to get out of this. He got, your brother did. He's going to be good. So there's a lot to be said there. But when you said to your wife that you're going to get diamonds, I'm hoping at least at 3 weeks you gave her some cubic zirconians. At least gave her something,
I wish.
right?
I wish. Yeah. So 3 weeks later, it was ramen's noodles for dinner yet again. And 3 months and 3 years almost later, it was ramen noodles. The business took substantially longer
Yeah.
to be successful. The irony is, and you've heard me talk about this so much, it wasn't that the business didn't grow. The revenue I started to figure out grew. It then was the retention of profitability that I struggled to figure out.
Yep. And that's coming.
Today,
That's
today
coming.
she's diamonds.
Yeah. So just a quick thing, top ramen, what's your favorite?
I think I don't even know anymore. Like chicken, it had chicken something, powdered chicken. It tasted so good.
You're blocking it out of your mind. You don't even remember it anymore.
Yeah.
My son, he likes the shrimp one.
Delicious and disgusting all at once.
Yeah, my son, he prefers the shrimp. He'll go make the shrimp one with the tiny little shrimp in it.
Yeah.
I prefer the chicken one, the chicken broth one. All right. Okay, so here's the next thing. Obviously, from that, years passed, and then you wrote another book, Pumpkin Plan.
Yeah.
And Pumpkin Plan, I'm going to read this. This is something interesting. I liked how you said this. It said, it quickly became apparent that the more I tried to grow my business, the more I spun my wheels. Opportunities seemed to be more sporadic, and I fell into being a yes man. Yes, I would do that project that you had no experience or capabilities in, but you also would be a yes person. I will do it. I'll discover that my business with an ever-growing diverse offering was making my business desperate. The one day I challenged myself to do fewer things for fewer types of clients at a big premium. It worked. So what was the impetus, the start that led to Pumpkin Plan and you writing this? What were you experiencing that you could share here to kind of elaborate on this?
Yeah. So that book was Actually, every book I've written in part has been inspired by a need that I have for my own businesses. So I'm an entrepreneur and an author, and
Uh-huh.
I wrote the Pumpkin Plan specifically because of a struggle. I learned that early on, the very beginning phase, any business is good business to prove that you can be of service, that you can have a business. But very quickly, that mentality of say yes to everything becomes an albatross around your neck. It really starts to pull you down. So, because what happens is the more diverse you're offering, the more things you have to do, and the more things you have to do, the more you become marginal at your capabilities at anything. And the more diverse the client set, the more diverse their needs. So now I'm trying to cater to multiple needs, and therefore, again, I further diluted myself. So I had heard, but then finally executed on it, that the riches are in the niches. To narrow down my service offering to cater to a very specific community. And in a B2B market, it could be an industrial vertical, like I serve just auto shops or pizza shops or something.
Hmm.
In a B2C, it could be demographical. I just serve a religious community or the gay community or something like that. And having that narrow space of what I offer. It was interesting when I narrowed it down. I found that community I could serve better now, and therefore they started to talk about me amongst the community. So very quickly, my reputation grew, and so that's why I wrote the Pumpkin Plan. It's a strategy for businesses to actually narrow down their service offering or their product offering for a more narrow community, and it consistently results in explosive, healthy growth. That's what it's about.
Well, one of the things that I found from it, and it resonated with me, is as an entrepreneur, I find that I've got a lot of ideas. In fact, I've got more ideas than I'm able to implement. And I've got a lot of things that I feel I could do and do very well. But in reality, I've got to figure out what makes the money. Where can I really differentiate myself, and where can I really stand out as being the expert? And as I start to narrow that down, I'm like you were just describing, rather than being a jack of all trades, I become the master of something specific. And the more clarity I get as to what that actually is, the more excited I am to come to work, the more excited I am to work with the customers. And more importantly, the more effective I think I am at what I'm doing, because I'm able to really focus in and really get to the nitty gritty of everything that's really happening there. So I like that only because of the fact that I think as an entrepreneur, I am drawn to other things. I notice other things and I want to do more things, but the money is in the niches. And so I like that. Um, so that leads me to then Surge. So the rate in which you're writing these books is going to accelerate, but Surge, you actually said something quite interesting. I felt about it that I'm going to read here. It says, "I wondered why, with all the hard work I put into my business, it just trickled along. At the same time that occasionally competitors would blow by me and become the industry leaders. Was it gobs of money or gobs of good fortune? Identify the tidal wave of the market movement and put your offering right in front of it. I applied it to my own business and experience stratospheric success." So the question is what led to this for you to even have the idea to write the book? What was behind the whole premise of this?
Yeah, it was observing competition occasionally just blow by me, and I was flabbergasted by that because I was serving the same market. I had been there. I was the stalwart, actually. At least that's the way I saw myself in that community. And now here's someone out of nowhere. I remember in my space, I did computer systems. There's a company called Geek Squad who started after I started my company and then blew the doors off of my business and so many competitors in their community and sold for hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, whatever it was. I saw UGG, uh, Under Armour, these companies like they come out of nowhere and all of a sudden they're
Yep.
massive. So how'd they do it? And I wanted to replicate that for myself. Now I didn't necessarily want to own the next $1 billion UGG. That doesn't appeal to me actually. I love small business, but I wanted to very quickly become the industry authority. So I applied it to. I did it in the data forensics space. I had a computer crime investigation company and became an authority very quickly. I did it again with Profit First Professionals, and while Profit First Professionals isn't a brand, household name in the community of accountants and bookkeepers, it's probably the most recognized concept on cash flow management. And the question is, of course, hey, how do you do that? So the surge process realizes that the most marketing momentum does not happen from your business. It actually happens through shifting client demand. And
Hmm.
main businesses aren't looking at that. Main businesses say, how do I differentiate myself? How can I market more aggressively? But the real question we should ask is, how's the market changing? And once we start looking at the market that we're concentrating on and how it's changing, what can we offer that positions us directly in front of the change? Now you become a early provider, the early adopter, not an early adopter, but early provider of services or products. And customers, when they hear about you, because you're one of the few or only one offering this new version of what you have, you become the talk of the town. So that's the tidal wave of demand. Where is the demand shifting? What can I offer directly in front of that shift? And then the client demand will actually carry the business as opposed to traditional marketing.
Well, I take what you've just shared and I look at it personally. I've personally also experienced this where
Mm,
for a variety of reasons I've had what I would consider to be new competitors, new people on the market come in and take a piece of the market share, the pie, and it was just confusing to see how was it that they were able to take and really dominate where we thought we were already the obvious choice or the premier choice. And
right.
what's frustrating with that whole experience is it's a personal thing that as a business owner you go through. It's not the business is being challenged. It's a you take it personally. And so I remembered on numerous occasions doing some soul searching to figure out, okay, what is it that we're not doing that's enabling us to connect better with our potential customers? Where are we missing the mark? Where are we not relevant any longer? And it causes you to really reflect on what matters most to your customers, looking at it through their eyes and hopefully meeting their needs where they need to be met. And all of a sudden, you start to become dominant again and predominant in your marketplace, and you start to become relevant. And what I'm just trying to share here is that it wasn't just a professional kind of experience. It was a very personal experience, having
Mm,
gone through it a few times, and it can be depressing and debilitating if you let it. And one of the things that I was fortunate to do is I had enough of a support team and group that were able to also see the issue and help us address the issue and obviously overcome that issue. And so it's going to come. I like what Surge addresses simply because out of nowhere, just with the world economy as it is, you're going to see people that come on the scene. The barrier to entry in a lot of businesses has been eroded. And when that barrier to entry has been eliminated in some instances, you just will see out of nowhere something come on scene that you didn't expect, and it causes you to be on your A game more and more often. So I think I'm better because of it, but at the same
yeah.
time, it was frustrating. So I definitely get that.
After I wrote Surge, Uber came about, and it's just a perfect example of how that process works. Here's a couple guys that had a problem. They were in New York. They were out in the pouring rain trying to hail a cab and couldn't get a cab.
Yep.
And someone simply said with their phone in hand, maybe just text a friend and see if they'll pick me up. And that became the inspiration of this idea. There was this demand, this pent up demand for on demand service, on demand transport. And you can see, what it did for them, and then all the clones like Lyft and so forth.
Yep.
The opportunities are massive that are out there. We just need to look for them.
So I was just watching Survivor. My wife just loves it. My kids love it. And they just are starting a season right now where the season is made up of all these previous winners. And they were introducing some of the people that really played 40 seasons ago, which was 20 years ago.
Wow.
And as they're introducing these people, the host of the show, Jeff, he was pointing out to this particular contestant, did you realize that cell phones didn't even exist back then? Apple didn't exist. Twitter didn't exist. Facebook didn't exist. I mean, they were going through all these things that are 5, 10 years old that didn't exist 20 years ago. And here these contestants are part of this major kind of a television thing where it's this real world kind of experience that is now very common in television. And they, as individuals, were recognizing, I think, at least I was, how much change has come in the world just in the short time that we've been here. And I used to travel quite a bit and never use Uber. And now I use Uber religiously. I'm using the shared services quite often. So rideshare is now a very staple part of my travel. So yeah.
Totally right, and I'm sure you have that feeling like I can't imagine not having this. How did I ever live without it? And that's someone who's caught the surge. When you position yourself in front of demand and cater to it, the people demanding that offering will start saying, how did I ever live without that? And that's a business that's just positioned so well.
So this brings us now to profit first. And this is something that, like you, I'm very passionate about. What I'm going to be doing here is starting it with just this comment that you made and see where this takes us. But you wrote about profit first. You said, I have become convinced that the biggest source of entrepreneurial stress and even depression is the lack of cash reserves. Profit is not an event. Profit is a habit. I created the profit first system to eradicate my own financial struggles. I liked how you said it's very personal. And with all of your business successes, you've got revenue, you've got cash flow, but do you have profit? Tell us about profit first as a concept, as an idea before the book.
Yeah. So the idea of profit first as a concept is, well, the impetus behind it, let me start with that, is that the vast majority of small businesses are not profitable. And so the consideration has, why are so many businesses not profitable? Because the reason the vast majority of us start a business is specifically for financial freedom. Like, that's the whole reason we want to do this in the first place. So why can't we pull this off? So that's why I wrote Profit First. And the core concept is this: we've been told that profit comes last. We say it's the year end or the bottom line. Those are all ways of saying it's last. And it's human nature. When something comes last, it means it's insignificant now. We doesn't matter. It's the perpetual manana syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we do in the book Profit First is we flip the formula. It's sales minus profit equals expenses. And now in execution, every time a sale comes in, there's a deposit of revenue. We immediately take a predetermined percentage of that money, allocate it toward profit, and now you've assured profit because you've paid yourself first in your business.
So, as you described that, it sounds logical, but there's an emotional element to it. And I like how you introduced it at the very beginning as saying that oftentimes, because it's the bottom line, it's the end of the year, it's one of these, we hope that it's going to be there. We're chancing it may actually exist, but in reality, we need to be more deliberate and intentional and make profit a priority. And so when you wrote the book, you put together, and I think the most simplistic way of saying, look, the easiest way to do this is just reverse the formula. It's revenue minus profits equals expenses. And when you run the business operationally based on what's left after you took out what you expect to be profitable with, you run your business totally differently. It's not it's the Pareto Principle, like I think you address in the book.
Yeah, it's a Pareto Principle. And I think that's such an important element in that Profit First. When I wrote the book, it wasn't about the system alone. It was about capturing behavior with a system. The example I use is we all know we need to exercise, myself included, and I now exercise religiously, but I didn't always. I thought I did actually. Like when someone said, "How often do you work out?" I'm like, "Oh, probably 5 days a week." And I actually looked at the metrics, and I was lucky to work out twice a week, marginally. So the question then came about is, how do I consistently exercise without changing my behavior? And what I noticed is when I would wake up in the morning, that's the best time for me and probably most people to work out is first thing in the morning. When I wake up, my gym sneakers and stuff were in the closet. I'd walk by the closet, go to the bathroom. Then I come out of the bathroom, I'd fire up some coffee and then forget it. I'm not working out. So then what I started to do is put my gym clothes on top of the toilet seat. So now when I wake up, the only way I can use the bathroom is by grabbing my gym clothes. And now I'm like, oh, I got my clothes in my hand anyway. I better put these on. And then I'm going to the gym. And I actually do work out 5 times a week now. So the process is the same with Profit First, is we need to intercept the natural path of our behavior. And the most common behavior, particularly for small business owners, is we log into our bank accounts to see what balance we have. And based upon what we see there, we spend it. That's the Pareto Principle. The Parkinson's Law.
Yes, yes.
Parkinson's Law. And Parkinson studied human behavior and saw that as a resource expands in its availability, we consume more of it. As it contracts in its availability, we become more frugal in its use and we become more innovative in its use. So the example with food, the more food that's put in front of someone, the more we're going to eat. The less food in front of us, of course, we have to eat less because there is less, but we also start to savor what we have. We consume slower. Well, the same thing is with our money. When the deposits go into our bank account, our normal behavior is to log into our bank account. We were seeing all of the money in that primary checking account and then spending based upon what we see there. Well, with Profit First, taking the profit out, Now we're constraining how much money's there. You still log into your bank account. That's your normal behavior. But now there's a constrained amount available. And according to Parkinson's law, less money available, less resource. We consume less, forced frugality, but also we become innovative. We start to learn to stretch our dollars. So that's what Profit First leverages.
So you brought up something that I think is important. You brought up exercise as an excellent example. Working out, and you want to be intentional and deliberate about it. You think you're doing it, but until you're intentional and deliberate, it's really not going to happen the way it needs to and should. But you've even taken it to the point now where it's not just deliberate, but it's fun and exciting. I know that you've been doing some new types of exercise to make it interesting. Recently with John, I saw that you were at one of the gyms.
Oh, you saw that, the CrossFit
Yeah,
workout?
you were doing the CrossFit workout. I saw that. That was excellent. Myself, recently, my wife took me to on a Valentine's trip, and happened to be that in the room we stayed was a Peloton bike, and I had never done one of those,
Oh,
and
cool.
it was phenomenal. And, when you can make exercise fun and enjoyable, it even makes it better. So if you can make your business profitable, how much more fun will it be to actually work in a business that's literally making money? So I love this whole concept of Profit First. Just yesterday, literally yesterday, I was talking to a business owner. They're looking to become a client of ours. And the whole concept really boiled down to the fact that he's been in business now for a number of years. And he finally admitted he's not profitable. And one of the things that he opened up to is the fact that he had recently gone through a divorce, and since the divorce he's been in a fog, and that mental fog has come to the point that it's caused him self-doubt and so forth. He really started to open up to the fact of, yes, I'm in business, I've got sales coming in, I got what I thought was good profit margins, but at the end of the day, I have to be very honest, I'm in a daze right now. I'm not clearly focused. I need something to help me get re-energized. But more importantly, I'm not profitable. It appears like I'm making money, but honestly, I'm not. Can you make that become a priority for me? So that's one of the things that I think is just fascinating. Now, I'm going to pause here. I just want to kind of recap something here.
Yeah.
We've been talking about starting with the toilet paper entrepreneur, going to the pumpkin plan, surge, and now Profit First. And I just want to tie it into accounting professionals, because obviously this is about building the premier accounting firm. And I think there's two important parts that I wanted to draw from this. One is that each and every one of these principles is very much appropriate for the accounting professional in their own business. We as individuals running accounting businesses, we deal with the idea that in our minds, everything makes sense. And when we go to implement, it's just not as smooth and as easy as we expect. We need to become more focused on what we're doing services wise. We've got to offer more than just the commoditized financial reports. We've got to offer more value to our clients and become that trusted strategic advisor that I believe Pumpkin Plan helps us actually do. But Surge, I think, is a testament to the fact that we have to, as a profession, get out in front of the market and become much more relevant for our clients. We need to help business owners realize that they need the accounting information that we can provide to make more informed business decisions, better educated, informed business decisions as business owners. And that just all drives us to the centermost part of all this, which is the cash flow leading to profit. If we can help the business owners understand that our intention is in offering quality accounting services is to bring profit to the forefront and help them as business owners make profit deliberate, then I think we're becoming relevant as a service that they're going to be willing to pay for. And so I think all of this is just beautifully sewn together. And I think as an evolution, it's perfect for that account I'm going to refer to them as an accountrepreneur. That's what we call them.
Oh,
An
cool. Yeah.
accountrepreneur, you're going through this process, but once you've experienced all these steps, how much better could you then take them as you work with your clients to them to then use in their own businesses? First go through it, realize, experience all this, and then ultimately take it to your clients and have them see you as that trusted strategic advisor with this wealth of information that Mike's put in front of us. So this is phenomenal. Would you like to add anything to that?
Well, our clients are seeking empaths, right? They are seeking not just your skill set, but someone who they feel comfortable with that can relate to their pain. I think it was Les Brown who said, "Your message is in your mess," meaning people don't. There's another saying, right? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
You care. Yeah.
So what we need to do as accounting professionals is to approach clients with empathy and understanding, and that and to recognize they have built a business, that it isn't flawed, it isn't isn't on the verge of collapse. They just have one component that is this thorn in their side that left untreated, it's going to become infected and a problem. We need to pull it out, but it's not irreversible. And I think that many entrepreneurs don't hear that from their accounting professional. The accountant says, "Oh, not profitable. Oh, you're struggling. Oh, look at these problems you have." But I think someone that understands the profit first methodology can go to a client and say, "Oh, you're human, and the problem you're having is actually normal, and it's based upon some behavioral stuff. Let me show you what I've done for myself, my own experience around this." And now you become an empath and someone that is a trusted confidant because they trust in your experience
Mm-hmm.
and understanding of their situation. That is the value that I think we need to deliver to be able to connect.
So that is one of the reasons why I love the word accountrepreneur. We came up with it years ago. It's not yet in the dictionary, but one day I expect it to appear there because accountrepreneur is what they're looking for. Because yes, you're an accountant, but more importantly, they need to see you as a peer. They're an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur, business owner to business owner. Can you talk the same language? And I think through the same trials and struggles you're facing as an entrepreneur, starting and building your own accounting business, you're able to then leverage these principles and help them as they're running their companies because these business principles are universal. And I did mean that.
Yeah,
Not
cute.
a
Yeah,
pun.
way to plug yourself. That was well done.
There you
Subliminal.
go. There you go. So the point is what we need to do is just recognize that if you can get to that level where you're peer to peer and they see you as that trusted advisor, I think they're really going to benefit from the relationship far more than they expected, just paying you to be their accountant. So that's, I think, a lot.
Agreed. And willing to pay a premium because the words you used were perfect. Just seeing you as their accountant. That's the words we use for a commodity. You're
Mm-hmm.
just a lawyer. You're just an accountant. You're just a dentist. Those are all commoditized definitions. When you're more than a lawyer. You're more than a dentist. You're more than an accountant. That's when your client is seeing this intangible value in you, or maybe that's not the right word, but this value in you that supersedes any of the commoditized folks. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, they cannot not have you. They've got to have you there. So that's, I
Yes.
think, important. Okay. So this is going to then allow us to go into Clockwork. Now, this is interesting because this is my personal opinion. I think there's a pivot here in this story that I'm trying to illustrate with all the books, but I'm going to have you share this. So here's what I have to start this little discussion. It says, you wrote, if you're like me, you started your business so that you could be your own boss, make the money you deserve, and live life on your own terms. But my dreams of freedom became a cruel joke. The more my business grew, the more my business depended on me. I worked
Yeah.
relentlessly, and still the business never was able to run on its own. I developed the Clockwork system to fix that permanently. I think this is so true how the business and we as individuals become so intertwined, interwoven, that all of a sudden we feel trapped. So tell me about Clockwork.
Yeah. So when I wrote this, I prior to writing it, I was asking myself regularly, what's the forms of impoverishment that exist in entrepreneurship or in any element of life? And the obvious is financial poverty. I don't have enough money. That's profit first. But there's other forms of poverty. There's time impoverishment where we have no time to do anything but XYZ.
Hmm.
And there's impoverishment on purpose and other things. Clockwork, I wrote to tackle what I believe is the biggest form of impoverishment facing entrepreneurs, which is they have no time for anything but the business. They've actually created a business to provide freedom and they've become entrapped by it. And in many cases, forms resentment.
Hmm.
I started to hate my businesses because I was the only person that could do anything. There's also this perverted ego that played into it too, saying, well, since I'm the only person that can do anything, I'm the most valuable person at my company. And it
I'm
would actually
glad you said
further,
both of those, by the way.
right, it would further perpetuate me being entrapped within the business. So Clockwork was the realization that it's not about the owner doing more work. It's not about being more productive. It's actually about organizational efficiency. What we need to do is to channel the resources around us. It could be our colleagues and our clients, even. It could be our vendors, our technology, to work those things, organize those things collaboratively to achieve the outcome we want as efficiently as possible. So it's not about doing, it's about choreographing.
Ah.
And that's what this book is this arc from what I call doing to designing. I wanted to do the 2Ds, but about choreographing resources.
Now, I can relate to this because for years I've taught something similar, and I'm in no way trying to match Clockwork, but for years I used to teach 4 keys to success as a business owner, and the
Mm,
4 keys I always ended with the fifth being personal time, and the
mm,
the fifth was intentional. It was meant to be this unexpected thing, which was really to help them, one, get permission to take personal time, but two, also see the importance of it. That really, if you're not, and Stephen Covey said this, you've got to sharpen your saw. You've got to actually find time to re-energize. And if you're not doing that, your business, I refer to it as being the Energizer Bunny. You're the battery. And if you get drained and you don't have that energy, that passion to actually continue coming in day after day and revitalize everyone else in the office, if when you walk through the door, everybody sees that you're frustrated, depressed, you've got that weight on your shoulder. Instantly, everyone in the office is gonna be like, okay, don't talk to Roger. Roger's not doing good today. Don't
right.
talk to Roger. Roger seems like he's stressed. Don't talk to Roger. He looks like he's got a lot on his mind. But if you come in and you're bubbly and excited and you have the enthusiasm for the day and that passion is palpable, you're that Energizer Bunny. And I think too often what we do is we fail to recharge ourselves, because the battery example that I'm trying to share is the fact that it is rechargeable batteries. And so you've got to get that recharge. And I love Clockwork because it's giving permission. It's telling us that we have to find that. And I know personally you take off 4 weeks a year and
Yeah.
actually go recharge.
You know, the best part about writing books, Roger, what I feel is the best part is the ultimate accountability mechanism. If I don't use the principles that I've studied, test on my companies, and stick with it, if I don't stick with it, then I become a charlatan. Like, could you
Yeah.
imagine? I'm
Yep.
like, you got to do profit first, and I don't do profit first for my business, or I don't follow the clockwork principles, or I don't use Surge. That means I don't believe my own stuff. So, I devote for each book takes me about 5 years of first a hypothesis, then testing, then development of a thesis, then more testing, case studies, implementation internally, then writing. And yeah, I do take a 4 week vacation, and I've taken three. My fourth one is next December, so it's a ways out from us doing this recording, but it's on the calendar. And the interesting thing too is it by sticking with the principles, it causes me to do a lifelong investigation of it. So Clockwork's a great example. What I've discovered now, it's not included in the book, but I may do a revised version around this, is the 4 week vacation concept I thought was only for the owner. Can the owner be extracted from the business? Now I realize it's for every linchpin employee.
Yep.
So we did, Kelsey, Kelsey here at the office, she's now
Yeah.
president of our
Yeah.
company. Kelsey has taken an 8 week vacation just so we can make sure that we can run in her absence. And she's now instituting for us organization wide. Now, listen, we're 12 employees collectively. We're tiny, but she's instituting, organization wise, that everyone's going to take a 4 week vacation so that there's forced redundancy into the organization
Yep.
itself.
So just to kind of illustrate what you just described, when I'm teaching the principle of personal time, one of the stories I share is that I used to work in a company where there was a stigma on those that took time off. In fact, we had the policy where at the end of the year, if you had personal time that you hadn't used, it would roll over to the following year. But there was a certain cap as to how many hours could roll over. And so oftentimes there were
Mm,
people that would lose personal time because they had too much to carry to the next year. And it was essentially a thing of,
mm,
well, how much time did you lose this year? Well, I lost 8 hours. Oh, I lost 16 hours. And there was almost like this badge of honor that I sacrificed more for the
yeah.
company because I didn't take as much time off as you did. Oh, you're going on vacation next week? And it was actually put down to the point that people felt embarrassed to say they were taking the time off. And so what I try to emphasize is you need to create this culture, as you're describing, that actually encourages it. You can live vicariously through other people's vacations as well. So much to be said there. And I love how you've illustrated that through Clockwork. So for time's sake,
Yeah.
could you introduce to us quickly a little bit about the new book on the horizon, Fix This Next?
Yeah. So Fix This Next is hopefully a pinnacle book for me. At least from my perception, it is the most important work I've done to this point. Readers, of course, will determine that. But why it's so important is I believe and this is the thesis of the book, the biggest challenge entrepreneurs face is actually knowing what their biggest challenge is. Most businesses are stuck in this survival trap. And I've seen businesses now figure out their profitability and they feel great about it, but now the business owner's working more than ever again. And they figure out that efficiency, but now there's not enough sales to support profit. And they're like, what's going on? And they keep ping ponging around. Fix This Next is a hierarchy of needs that businesses have. I translated Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I studied that intimately and understood how it works with the human entity,
Mm-hmm.
but then translated it. How does it work for a business? And I think in our business, as business owners, we rely on our gut often, and found as I was doing my research and even practical experience that the gut actually can be a little bit dangerous. I mean, if we're walking down a dark alley by ourselves and you get the heebie-jeebies that someone's going to attack you, definitely turn around and leave that alley stat, because that is your senses, your sight, smell, other senses that are triggering that call to action,
Mm-hmm.
the fight or flight. But we're not, because we're neurologically wired to ourselves, but we're not neurologically wired to our business. So when we get a gut sensation, it's not because we really know what the senses of the business are saying. So Fix This Next, I call it the compass. There's a hierarchy of needs called the business hierarchy of needs in there that acts as a compass, that when we see there's an issue, it causes us to pause and evaluate based upon the needs the business has, and keeps us on a true north to stay in a consistent direction. So that's what it is. And my hope is that when people read this book and they understand the hierarchy of needs, that they'll be able to use the one sheet in the book and just pin it above their desk. And every day, anytime they have a challenge, to spend the 3 minutes or less to evaluate what is the next thing that we need to fix, and the other things need to wait until the most impactful issue within the business hierarchy of needs is addressed next.
That is wonderful. I didn't realize that this was not necessarily based on perhaps, but in reference to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because
Yeah.
I love that. I quite often talk about that evolution to the point of self-actualization at the top. And
Yes.
you've got that core foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, everything else really doesn't matter. So yeah, what you just shared is very, very relevant to me. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. The Maslow hierarchy, what's so powerful about it is just a real quick, teaser in it. The base of the hierarchy is physiological needs. Like we need air, water, food. The next level up is safety needs, like shelter over our head, protection from harm, base of financial security. And it keeps going up to belonging, esteem, self-actualization.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is you can be living at the highest level in the moment, like self-actualizing. We actually could argue that right now we're experiencing a very high level of the Maslowian chart or hierarchy because of the conversation we're having. It's a very high level conversation. It's probably in the top 2 levels. But if I'm firing down a hamburger while we're talking here and I start choking, all of a sudden I'm not going to be answering questions and sharing thoughts, and you're not going to be sharing your thoughts and answering my questions.
Mhm.
What's going to happen is I'm going to try to dislodge that burger from my throat. Well, what Maslow points to is when a base level need is not satisfied, we are wired to immediately revert to addressing that. Well, in our business, we have these foundational needs. There's 5 levels like Maslow's hierarchy. And if a base level need is not adequate to support the needs above it, it needs to be addressed, but we don't see it because we're not neurologically wired in. That's why so many people miss the profit part, and they keep on saying, we got to sell out of it. No, there's a hierarchical need for profitability. And by using the system, we won't skip steps or miss steps. That's the key.
Well, I think all business owners struggle with prioritizing things. And what I'm hearing is this is going to help us prioritize better and, more importantly, identify what really needs our next attention. And that's why it's Fix This Next. So well said. So I'm going to take a quick moment here and just mention our sponsors. And then I'm going to come back with some very, I think, personal great questions for you to just rapid fire answer. So first thing regarding the sponsors, this is obviously an episode sponsored by Universal Accounting Center. We invite you to get a copy of the book In the Black. In the Black is the 9 principles to building your business and making it more profitable. And with that, we've got a special offer that will actually appear related to Mike's books that I encourage you to go to the episode description and see what you can do to get a copy of both In the Black and one of Mike's books, and see where you can actually get a copy of these for your own reference, and then more importantly, to see how you can actually share this information with your clients and become much more relevant in the services that you're providing. The ultimate goal here is to provide quality accounting services to get you paid what you're worth. So, Mike, with that in mind, I want to really go to the heart of the matter. You've done, I think, some phenomenal things, and what many people often want to do but never do, which is write this down and leave a legacy. And I know you're a family guy. What important lesson from your mother or father do you feel is resonating in you today as you go through the journey that you're experiencing? What life lesson did your mother or father teach you that's really at your core and is part of what you're doing?
My mother's always, well, she maybe never said the words. It was always been about under promise, over deliver, to manage expectations, but to really deliver the best. Uh, and I think I learned from my father loyalty, extremely loyal to our family, my mother. And what I learned is that loyalty translates not just to family, but to business. You know,
Hmm.
I hope my readers see me as very loyal because I feel I'm doing everything to be loyal to small business owners. That's my peeps, and I will do anything to serve and defend them. So I've had and I'm doing kind of air quotes around this opportunity to pursue opportunities or things outside of small business. I've been encouraged to focus on bigger companies where there's more money and in different venues, but it just doesn't appeal to me. I have this loyalty to the market I come from and that I live in is the small business market. So I
Hmm.
think those values, while never taught in the traditional sense, were demonstrated by my parents, and I value that significantly in the results I've experienced in my life.
So with your family, you've got a lovely wife, children. What would you like them, with all the hard work you're doing and everything you're doing within the small business community? What would you like them to have as a legacy for you to say, "I'm glad my dad did this. I'm glad my husband did this." What is that for you?
I'm hoping my kids have a belief in themselves and that they pursue their definition of a dream. I don't encourage or inspire. I hope to inspire my kids to become entrepreneurs per se. I don't think it's necessarily for any of them, but maybe it is. And if they feel called to do it, I'm all in on it. But I don't have a outcome. I don't have an expectation for them of how they live their life in regards to vocation. I just hope that they live their life in pursuing their dream relentlessly, whatever it may be, in their romantic lives, in their business lives, in any aspect of their lives, that they just realize that dreams can be manifested. And I hope they saw in me, because all my kids were old enough to see the journey from
Yeah.
um, struggle to losing a house to losing all our money. They've seen it all, but they saw that I never gave up on a dream, and then
Yep.
they see what the experience is like. And it's not the financial win. That's wonderful. It's wonderful. And it's an acknowledgement for sure. I want everyone to experience that. But really, it's just that we can create the outcomes we desire. It's not easy, but we can.
Well, Mike, I think you're an inspiration to many people. I know you are to me. I've met you on a number of occasions. You've been kind enough to have me into your home on a few occasions. I think more than anything, it's just I appreciate your genuineness. I think more than anything, you're an excellent example of work ethic and persistence. So I hope everyone else in hearing this episode has felt that as I know you to be, and I appreciate you taking the time to do this. One of the things that I do remember, and I don't know if you'll recall this, one time we spoke and you gave me some suggestions and thoughts regarding public speaking and how to get out there a little bit more. And I
Yeah.
truly appreciated that. It was a selfless act on your part. It was words of wisdom that I still to this day reflect upon, and I value that. So I thank you for your time today. I think what you had to share today is phenomenal. So let me just wrap a few things up, and then I'm going to ask for a final thought, if I may. Okay.
Sure.
So, just as a quick recap, one of the things that I think everybody needs to realize as we're looking at building the premier accounting firm is these principles are very appropriate for you as a business leader. You need to actually apply these principles in your own company and see how they actually affect you in building the premier accounting business. But at the same time, as you apply these principles and become comfortable with them, I think it will be most important that you then share them with your clients and help them realize what it is that they should be doing in their businesses to become the premier company in their own industries. And with that in mind, I invite you again to check out the episode descriptions and subscribe to this podcast to build the premier accounting firm in your area. And with that, I also invite you to go to universalaccountingschool.com for more information regarding the principles that were shared here today, or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. So real quickly, Mike, are there any final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, if I may, yes, two things. One is I hope everyone listening understands how much their clients want them to be profitable. Your clients will never say to you, please charge me more, but your clients will say, I want your undivided attention, the best service you can provide. I want you to care for me. And the only way to do that is by being profitable. If you're focused or concerned about how you get the next dollar in, you can't cater to your clients. Your clients want you to be wildly profitable.
Yep.
And if I may, I can just share a resource to get a lot of this stuff we were talking about for free, at least the sampler packs, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So it's mikemotorbike.com. That's my website. It's Mike Michalowicz, actually, but no one can spell it. So mikemotorbike.com, my nickname from high school. And if you click on Get the Tools, you will find for free in one email. It's not like you have to subscribe or anything. You'll get all the chapter downloads plus some articles I used to write for the Wall Street Journal and some other goodies at mikemotorbike.com.
Excellent. Mike, thank you. Your generosity is amazing. I appreciate it. I know everyone here is going to benefit. And just remember this, everyone. If it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care. Have a great day. And everybody, live long and prosper. Take care, Mike.
Take care, brother.